the actual father and mother of Krishna. Not. Anvavineta, I'm sorry. Anvavindetam. Enjoy. Krishna. Of Krishna. Udara. Magnanimous. Arbaka ihitam. The childhood pastimes he performed. Gayante, or glorifying. Adya api, even today. Kavayaha, great sages and saintly persons. Yat, which is. Loka shamala apaham, by hearing of which the contamination of the whole material world is vanquished. So translation. Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as their son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastimes, which are so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, however, enjoyed these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. So you can repeat. Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as their son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastimes, which are so great that simply by chanting about them, vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaja and Yashoda, however, enjoy these pastimes fully. And therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. Okay, so purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Krishna actually took birth from the womb of Devaki, but just after his birth, he was transferred to the home of Mother Yashoda. Devaki could not even have Krishna suck her breast. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How had Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj become so fortunate that they enjoyed the complete childhood pastimes of Krishna, which are still glorified by saintly persons? What had they done in the past by which they were elevated to such an exalted position? So, Itaral nanvavindetam Krishna dararvaketam Kayantyadyapi kafiyo Yaloka shamalapaham. So, Om Gana Timidanda Sha Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksuram Meditam Yena Tasmai Shikaveda Maha. So, of course, we do know that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Canto, he states that actually Krishna was born as the son of Yashoda Mai. And there was Vasudeva Krishna. It's interesting. He was born from Vasudeva and Devaki. And this Vasudeva Krishna was brought by Vasudeva through the Jamuna River and the storm and everything like that to Nanda Maharaj's house. And that expansion of Krishna entered into, for lack of a better word, entering into, you really can't understand what's happening. But anyway, He is an expansion of Krishna, so he entered into Krishna and Nandana. And so, in one sense, well, I'd say in a higher sense, Krishna was the son of Yashodamai and Nanda Maharaj. Another point that's mentioned in the Gopal Champu by Srila Jiva Goswami, there's this whole discussion of is someone the son of someone because they were born from someone, or is someone the son of someone because they were raised by someone and they were given up by someone else? And then the conclusion is you're actually the son of someone who raises you much more than you were the son of someone who just gave birth to you. I mean, like, let's take the Mahabharata. Let's say, who was Karna the actual son of? You can say, you know, he was the son of Kunti, right? In one sense. But also, he was the son of Radheya. She raised him. So he was always referred to as Radheya. You know, they said son of Radha. Sorry, Radheya, which is a nice name to have for a mother. So, anyway, so this is one point here that Krishna actually, in a real way, we use the word ontological way, was actually the son of Yashodamai and Nanda Maharaj. But outside of Vrindavan, Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, which is also interesting. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about an interesting statement Prabhupada makes in his translation. The translation is actually a purported translation. That's why no one should ever mess with Prabhupada's translations, because they're actually purported translations. He uses the word, which is interesting, better here. He said, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, however, enjoy these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Vasudeva and Devaki. So let's try to understand that word better. Of course, it doesn't mean that Vasudeva and Devaki are worse. Oftentimes, within the Krishna conscious movement, we think that in order to be better, we have to have the highest ras with Krishna, isn't it? We have to think I'm a gopi. And you're just, whatever. You're just a coward boy. I'm much better than you. Or I'm a follower of Radharani, and you're a follower of Chandrabali, which is Radharani's so-called competitor. So, you know, we always, because of our material conceptions, we always try to establish our superiority. And we always think, you know, we're going for the highest. But it doesn't mean that something else is lower. You know, you have this whole conception in the material world is higher and lower. And yes, we understand that Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamai's relationship with Krishna was more complete, more developed, more intimate. I understand the pastimes of Vrindavan, or Krishna in Vrindavan does things he doesn't do outside of Vrindavan, right? Like he plays a flute. In spite of all the Bollywood movies we've seen, Krishna doesn't play his flute outside of Vrindavan. Sometimes you have these Bollywood movies, you know, where Krishna pulls on his flute. And you may even have gopis outside of Vrindavan. But anyway, these Bollywood movies are not accurate. So, you know, we understand that, you know, this is the highest ras, but we have to be careful not to project a material conception of being the best or being, you know, less than the best or worse or something like that. Every devotee who has his particular relationship with Krishna, regardless of what that relationship, that's the best for that particular individual. And as devotees of Shambhasundara, of course, I don't know if you're all devotees of Shambhasundara, some of you may be Ram Bhaktas. Just like I'll give you an example. We do a lot of preaching in Fiji. And in Fiji, just about everybody is from Bihar. Bihar is one of the states in India where everyone's peaceful, no killing anyway. That's joking. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. That's why there's so much politics. Why Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me, if you think the prasadam is tasty, wait till you taste the politics in Fiji. So anyway, but in Fiji, there are Ram Bhaktas, there are Ram Mandalis everywhere in Fiji. And of course, the way they worship Ram is less than desirable. After doing their katha, then what they do is they drink kava. So it's not really following the rules of, kava is like an intoxicating drink, and the men stay awake all night in stupor. And every religious ceremony you have to have kava. Even I mentioned the other day, one of my disciples was passing away, and his friends brought him kava, said, we want you to enjoy this at the last minute of life. Also, they thought, we should have meat and kava before you pass away. Anyway. So, that's a downside. But still, they Ram Bhaktas. They really love Ram. Somehow, they really love Ram. So the Hare Krishnas come into the scene, and they start criticizing. They say, no, Krishna is too Bhagavan Swayam. Ram, not exactly like that. And of course, people obviously get offended by that. And so, it's really not the way to preach. You have to respect someone's devotion. Even if they're, it's a sahaja thing, obviously, it's cheap, whatever it is, because they're not really following rules and regulations. But we encourage people to act or to be devotional. We don't want to disturb people even if they have material attachments. You engage, even if they're not understanding Ram, but you can engage them. You can engage them in chanting. So what I do when I go there is I tell many stories from the Ramayana. I've read the Valmiki Ramayana several times, and I know all the stories that they don't know. And I use that as a preaching tool to sort of like draw them into Krishna consciousness. They say, wow, this Krishna Bhakta knows more, and all the other devotees, they're criticizing me for being a Ram Bhakta. But it's wonderful if they're Ram Bhaktas. Vaikuntha, we just look down upon Vaikuntha. Like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I think, went to Radhakrishna, and he was giving a class, basic class. What was it from the Isopanishad, And Prabhupada said he's a Vaikuntha man. That means you're insulting Bhakti Siddhanta. He said he's a Vaikuntha man. So in other words, and then you have like, see, we have to understand this statement better in the context is an ecstatic expression of Prabhupada. Like there's one comment he makes in the Bhagavad Gita, we should only meditate on the form of Krishna in Vrindavan, no other form. Now, if you take that literally, they're just like, don't read the Ramayana, Maharaj. Don't talk about Lord Nrsimhadev, forget it. Take the picture off the altar. You take that literally. Sometimes you really have to understand Prabhupada's statement in terms of his ecstasies here. Now here he is showing us that he's actually a resident of Braj. This statement better, because it's not there in the translation, the word-by-word translation. It's not there. You don't find it's better. You find, indirectly, they didn't enjoy this like that, but the better is not used. So
actually, the whole sentence is
the whole sentence.
The whole last sentence of the translation is missing in the Sanskrit.
Therefore, their position is always better, always better. You have this superlative word too. Always better. That's like an absolute word. Usually when we use absolutes, anyway, I'm not saying when we always use absolutes.
Never say never.
Yeah, never say never. I say usually when we use the word absolute, it's improper. So Be careful about my logic here. You got a logical teacher here. So anyway, so their position is always better. So Prabhupada is showing that his devotion, he's showing that he's actually on the platform of Brajavasi. Prabhupada's a Brajavasi by that one statement. But he's not saying that to denigrate or criticize Vasudeva Devaki. And then we see that Prabhupada himself, he established the worship of Lord Nrsingadev after Mangal Arti or after Artis. That's not a traditional Gaudiya Vaishnava. You go to different Gaudiya Vaishnava temples, you will not find the same sort of artis going on, except for the Sundar Arti is the same. The Gaura Arti is the same. Not really. Sometimes they get into Radha and Krishna stuff.
They insert all sorts of other phrases into the Guru Artik song.
Yeah.
So they sing Guru Artik song very differently.
You're very
and
different.
they don't sing practically any Hare Krishna song.
Yeah, well that's not good. But I believe that Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't set it up like that. This is something, because there's Prabhupada set up specifically, let's say, how we do Mangal Arti, which is different than any other Gaudiya Math temple. We chant the Guru Vashtaka, isn't it, for Mangal Arti. Then we have the Nrsingadev prayers, where we're chanting prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. And then also you have this great devotee, of course, then Jayadev Goswami, in the midst of his Gita Govinda, which is actually such a high book, that doesn't mean all the books are low. It's such a high book. In the midst of his Gita Govinda, he has this Dasavatar sloka, right? Which means this 10 avatars. Keshavadrita Naraya Rupa, Keshavadrita Shukara Rupa, Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa, all these other forms of the Supreme Personality. Recognizing that it's Krishna doing all these things. At the same time, he's glorifying the incarnations of the Lord, or the, avatars, to be more precise. He's glorifying them, but he's also understanding, he's seeing Krishna doing all these things. He's seeing Nanda, Krishna doing all these things. So, a devotee enjoys these pastimes, and not only enjoys all the pastimes of the Lord, he sees Krishna doing all these things in his various moods. As Prabhupada said, is like a man in the office or a man at home. A man in his office acts in a very official capacity. Yes, sir, no, sir. And then at home, his wife doesn't say yes, sir, no, sir, unless she's just like sarcastic with him. She may even chastise him. Not may, will, does, on a regular basis. Chastise him or correct him. Even Mandodari was correcting Ravan. You should give back Sita Devi. So anyway, so it's the same person, different relationship. And so let's say you have the pastimes of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Anupama. Anupama, the brother of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And they were trying to convince him to chant Hare Krishna, to be absorbed in Krishna's pastimes. And he was, or is, a Ram Bhakta. And they were not successful. They basically, he stayed up all night long crying because he couldn't give up the devotion to his Ishtadeva, Deva, Ram. And they glorified him for that. And Murari Gupta was tested by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they glorified him for that. They didn't say he was lesser or anything like that. So, anyway, so we have to be careful in our dealing with devotees of the Lord. Just like the first offense on chanting the holy name of the Lord is the blasphemy of devotees who dedicate their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. And that refers to in any religion. If someone is dedicated even to a servant of the Supreme Personality of God, if someone dedicated to Jesus Christ, or Muhammad, a servant of the Lord, then we glorify him, we appreciate what's going on. So, so Prabhupada's statement of better is not meant as a denigration of anyone else, or especially Vasudeva and Devaki. It's meant as his own position, establishing his own position. And as far as our own position in Krishna consciousness, our Siddhadeha, which is like 10,000 light years away. Or what do they say? More than that, because traveling at the speed of the mind, you can't even get there. 10,000 lifetimes from now. Then whatever it is, but we're servants. We shouldn't think that we're more than we are because we want to be the best. There's this tendency. Of course, I certainly have a tendency. We have so many material tendencies. I mean, when we're just not humble. I'm referring to myself. Sorry, you're all humble. I mean, I was taking my Japa walk this morning. Just a illustration of how I'm not humble, or I'm materialistic. I take my Japa. I was thinking, I'm absorbed in Krishna's holy names, and then right across my path there was a little furry rabbit. And immediately my mind said, oh, how cute. I wish he would come up to me and sit on my lap. And I was thinking, I was so proud, chanting the holy names. I get up early every morning, do my exercise. And here I am. Bart Maharaj the second. What? What's happening? So, we have to be introspective enough. I mean, not only in dealing with whatever level people are at in devotional service, Vaikuntha, he's only going to Vaikuntha, he's an armed reverence man, an armed reverence girl, whatever. But just Hare Krishna, on the elevator there, we want to pick up a rabbit and kiss it. Isn't that the way I think most of us would have that response when we saw a little rabbit, isn't it? A bunny rabbit. Of course, that's probably a curse I have because I teased someone for having a rabbit when I stayed over their house. But it's like that, Or even walking around Govardhan, we see a baby monkey, and I think, how cute. Of course, I'm intelligent enough not to pick it up because I know the mother wouldn't appreciate that. So really, we should be humble enough to identify, hey, Gopinath, a materialistic rascal. This is important, because Chanadapi Sunichena Torori Tasishana Manina Anadena Kirtaniya Sadhari. Until we actually understand our position and don't think that we're on a very high level. I mean, speaking about myself, speaking about myself, not about all of you. I'm not criticizing great Vaishnavas like all of you. Then, I don't know, we're not going to really get attached to the holy names and be able to chant the holy names. But we can appreciate Prabhupada's statement here better in the right context. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to speak about right now. It's interesting. Interesting how Prabhupada adds things to the translation and illustrates Prabhupada's position, and we have to understand things in the proper context. Any questions or comments? Yes?
Yeah. In the purport, Prabhupada says that, Devaki didn't give a breast milk to Krishna.
She did later on.
But of course, Prabhupada didn't translate past the 13th chapter of the 10th canto, but in Krishna book,
she does later on.
In Krishna book, when he talks about returning the 6 dead sons of Devaki, it says that because they drank Devaki's breast milk, which was drunk by Krishna.
They were drunk by Krishna. They got liberated.
Liberated.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that. That's interesting. I was actually thinking about that too, because actually Krishna did drink her breast milk. I think it's just Prabhupada's ecstatic statements here, that Krishna, he didn't see, that she didn't see his childhood pastimes. It's hard to understand that statement, She didn't see his childhood pastimes, and then Prabhupada was extrapolating that, she didn't get a chance, he didn't get a chance to suck her breast, but actually later on it's described that how he did, yes.
I think it was in the commentary by Jiva Goswami, and he got in that book translated by Ramanuj, and I was looking at the verses, and I believe, I'm not sure it was that or a different commentary, that it was said that he was always, because Mother Yasoda's love was so strong, he was always so enthusiastically drinking the milk from Mother Yasoda.
Yes.
And that he had just taken maybe once from Devaki, but it wasn't, because there wasn't that strong love, that it wasn't the same. And then he also talked about how when Krishna expanded himself into the different cowherd boys, now the different, he had drunk from the different mothers.
Yeah.
But that still wasn't the same. That Mother Yasoda's love was so much
So
stronger
intense.
than anyone else's, that it was from her that he really.
Of course, here it says that this sounds like could not even have Krishna suck her breast.
It sounds like another absolute.
It's an absolute. It's really like an absolute that could not even. It's like an absolute statement. Because that's like indirectly says not even once. So anyway, it's one of these great mysteries. Yes.
You were talking about him.
Interesting how you.
You were talking about him. I was thinking that that's something that it cannot be a put on. It has to be actual, real humility with your heart.
Yeah.
Totally devoted. Something that I'm pretending, I'm so humble, or I think I'm so humble.
Yeah.
Just a person is humble with respect, or not humble at all. But I was thinking what our background is. We happen to appear in Kali Yuga. We don't come from Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So the fact that we think, oh, I know so much, or I need so much information, or have so much power, it's completely preposterous, considering her background.
Yeah. Of course, by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, a dog could swim an ocean, a blind man could see, like, etc. Or a layman could walk. So, we have devotees who are realized, not me, I'm just realizing a rabbit, But the point I was making is that we should actually understand when we get attracted, because it's also important, apart from humility, to understand that certain attractions we have are Maya and to control them, to use the intelligence to identify them. Apart from it making us humble, it should be an impetus for us to control our mind, which is what I did when I saw the rabbit and I wanted to pick it up. And I said, how cute, ran under the car. I said, come here, stop chanting Hare Krishna. I stopped chanting Hare Krishna and come here, I want to pick you up. So, then immediately in my mind I thought, oh my God. The reason I'm talking about it is, oh my God, is because I'm showing you how a devotee should think. Oh my God, this is not good for my spiritual life that I'm thinking like this. And then I began to chant more seriously. So it was an impetus to chant more seriously. And also, another point I'm making by talking about my own Maya is it's showing how we actually have to be honest with others and vulnerable. We don't want to posit ourselves on a higher position than we are. at. And it's really dangerous. And of course, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the causes of anarthas is the byproducts of bhakti. That means you get so much appreciation, you know, people say so many nice, you think so much, you think you're so good, you're chanting nice japa. You have to be able to like deal with those byproducts of bhakti, with the anarthas when they come up, because that's definitely an anartha. And if I think I'm advanced, then I'm not able to deal with that anartha, and that anartha will ultimately overcome me, like it did with Bart Maharaj. Bart Maharaj was on the platform of Bhava. You know, that's really high. You know, I'm on the platform of Bhava Rogue. You know what Bhava Rogue means?
No.
Bhava Rogue means diseased emotions, like in the material world. So, I don't know, you know, it's just good to be honest about, you know, whenever you experience some Maya. And maybe not talk about it in class. But it's good to be honest. I mean, I feel when I talk about, or I mention to others, you know, something that happens like that, it makes me feel good because it just helps me in my devotional service. Rather than just saying, you know, I understand this, I understand the gopis. You know, I'm a servant of Radharani, I must be a Manjari gopi. I just, you know, just be honest about yourself. Okay. So today we're going to the pet store.
We'll go to the pet store.
Yeah, my sincere disciples have heard this class.